Good morning and welcome to, well, what is a quite frustrating morning, being completely honest with you, because, well, let's get straight into it. I've had a few problems with electronic shifting this morning. So picture the scene, there I was at about 7:15 this morning, bike was all ready, everything had been charged the night before. I step out the door, I meet my buddy Jimmy, off we go down the road. Hang on, my rear derailleur's not shifting. Let's pull over, open the app, see what's happening. And before I even open the app, I have this sinking feeling that my rear derailleur battery is going to be dead because it's been quite a while since I charged it. But I open the app, and to my surprise, the rear derailleur has still got 40% battery on it. Front derailleur has got 65% on it, so that clearly isn't the problem. And then I notice a dreaded software update required. Now at this point, I think to myself, do I do this by the cold, windy side of the road, or do we head back home? Because we've only got about 10 meters up the road. Head back home, make myself a cup of tea, and do it in the warmth of my kitchen. So I obviously chose that, and Jimmy and I headed back and sat in my kitchen for a bit. And Jimmy and I had to have a wry smile on our faces as we got back to my house, because it was very apt that this was happening, because literally 2 minutes before all of this, when we first met up outside the houses, we started having a laugh about how olden days cyclists would laugh at us modern cyclists these days with all of the devices that we need to charge and sync. And that came from the fact that I was syncing the date and time on my cyclic cameras this morning, and then lo and behold, 2 minutes later I'm having problems with my electronic shifting. But anyway, we get back home, we do the update, and I think and hope to myself, right, that should be it, let's get on the way. But no, still no movement from the rear derailleur. So I go into the settings on the wheel top app, and I don't know what's going on with it, but it just doesn't seem to recognize moving down the range of gears unless you change the settings to change the big paddle on the right shifter to move down the range of gears, but then obviously it won't move back up the range of gears. So you're sort of stuck. And annoyingly, when you go into the app, you can change the gears using the calibration setting within the app. So I mean, I could use the app just to change gears the whole way along the ride, but yeah, that's not ideal. So while I was trying to debug that and sort that out, I said to Jimmy, look, there's no point in you hanging around. I don't want to hold you up. You go out, do your own ride, and if I get this fixed, I'll give you a buzz and try and meet up. And you might well think, well, he obviously did get it fixed. He's out on a bike. But no, if you look at my surroundings, you've probably already guessed that I'm actually on my gravel bike. But even that didn't come without its problems, because when I went to get that from the garage this morning, yeah, of course, flat tyre. And of course, it was the rear one, because it's always the rear one, isn't it? So I got that flat tyre fixed, but I am now an hour and a half behind. We did set out at 7:30 this morning. It's now 9 AM. I've tried giving Jimmy a call, but he's not answering. So I thought I'd just come out and try and find Jimmy anyway. And given that I'm on my gravel bike, well, I thought I'd take a shortcut through the forest. So who knows if I'm gonna find him, but let's go and have a search for him anyway. Well, I really don't think I'm going to have much luck finding Jimmy, but despite all of that, it is still an absolutely gloriously sunny morning, so be thankful for small mercies and all that. Although despite the sun, it is still -1 this morning, so it would be nice if spring could roll around anytime soon. That would be lovely, thank you. So as if this morning isn't bad enough, to compound matters further, I'm about 5 miles into this ride now and have just glanced down at my Garmin to see exactly how far I've gone, and of course it didn't auto start this morning. So I'm now just 0.16 kilometers into this ride. Oh, you can't make this up. This has been a very, very frustrating morning. Have we allowed modern bike tech to take all of the joy out of cycling? I mean, that's probably a bit of a pejorative view, because when bike tech works, it is great. Wireless shifting, hydraulic brakes, tubeless tires, bike computers, all of those things, all absolutely fantastic when they work. But when they stop working, yeah, they can cause quite a few problems. I mean, you read stories about the early days of the Tour de France when things started going wrong and the riders would just get off, get out a spanner, fix something mechanical, and they'd be back on their way. I mean, before gears were even invented, riders would get to a particularly steep hill, jump off the bike, flip their wheel over for a slightly easier cog on one side, climb up the hill, and then swap it back over again when they got to the top. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is very inconvenient as well, and the advent of gears have been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, electronic shifting, needing an app to sort your gears out when they go wrong, yeah, that's less than ideal. I'll head on and go from here, but yeah, I'll catch up with you a bit later on. All right, mate, take care, see you later. Right, well, that's decided it. Jimmy's up in Littlebury, quite a few miles from where I am now, so I'm not going to be meeting up with him. Which is another thing that modern tech have robbed me of this morning, a ride with my buddy. So just to clarify, for those who've never watched any of my videos before, I'm actually using the Wheeltop EDS-TX wireless group set, which up until now has worked absolutely perfectly, and I've put probably around 1,500 miles on it now, and I've not had a single problem with it. But I have been off my road bike for a good few weeks now. Last weekend I was working at the photography show in London and couldn't get to ride my bike. The weekend before that I took an e-bike ride with my buddy up the Flitch Way, an old disused railway line, because the roads were just too icy. And the week before that, I think, was another gravel ride, if I recall correctly. So it's been a good month since I've used my road bike. So it wasn't really that surprising to see that there were a number of software updates for both left and right shifters and front and rear derailleurs. But I've not really had any complaints at all, or not really had. I haven't had any complaints whatsoever about the Wheeltop EDS-TX. So I will drop Wheeltop. I was a poet and I didn't know it. I will drop Wheeltop an email just to ask what might be the issue and see if they know of anything that might be able to fix it. And if they do come back to me before this video gets published, I'll leave a pinned comment down below as to what they say. Right, next thing, this jacket needs to come off because it's no longer -1. We're a good way into this ride now and it's suddenly jumped up to 4 degrees and I'm starting to resemble a boil in a bag. Right, that feels much better. But let me know your thoughts on modern bike tech. Do you have an unshakable love for it, and no matter when it goes wrong or what goes wrong with it, nothing is going to move you from that opinion? Or do you tolerate it because it is just part of modern cycling, and when it goes wrong you get just as frustrated as I have this morning? Or do you absolutely hate it, and are you a die-hard old school cyclist who thinks there's nothing wrong with tubed tyres, rim brakes and old school front and rear mechanical derailleurs? Personally, I love new tech, whatever genre you use it in, whether it be cycling or just modern day life, but only when it doesn't frustrate the purpose of what you're trying to do. That can be very annoying, unfortunately, as this morning has proved. Right, I've had enough of road riding this morning. I'm on a gravel bike. Let's find some gravel trails. At this point I remember that I really need to put the suspension seat post on this bike. Right, we're going back to the video I made a few weeks ago. I'm currently getting lost. I've no idea where these trails lead, but it doesn't matter because the sun's shining, it's no longer freezing cold, and I'm on a bike. I mean, it would be better if my buddy Jimmy was here, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Let's enjoy the trails. This is what you call gravel. There's not much of this in the UK. And no sooner do I say it, it ends. Absolutely typical. All right, in all honesty, coming out on these gravel trails has been a lot of fun. It has lifted my mood somewhat. So I suppose I should be thankful for modern electronic failures. Ultimately, it ended up being fun. Well, the temperature's dropped again, and I did take my gloves off before because it did get very warm, and now my hands are absolutely freezing. But we're only a couple of miles from home now, so soon time for a cup of tea. Let's get it. Right, well there you go, 22 kilometers done, although it should have been closer to 30, but that was the least of my frustrations this morning. Despite it being a frustrating morning though, that was a genuinely fun ride. It's always good getting out off-road, and I've definitely found over this winter that off-road riding is, or can be, a lot more fun than road riding. But Then again, it has been rainy, cold, windy and very cloudy for the last 18 months, so perhaps that's why my love of road riding has waned somewhat. But yeah, modern tech, what do you think? The only thing that hasn't let me down this morning is actually my Cyc Plus rear radar light, and that has told me about all of the cars that have been coming up behind me when I've done the road section. So again, thanks Cyc Plus, because that is still working perfectly. But again, let me know your thoughts below. What do you think of modern bike tech? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you on the fence? I'd love to hear your comments. Oh, and also, you may well have noticed that I'm wearing a slightly different cap today, and that is because I finally pulled my finger out and got myself a Blackmore cycling apparel Wang It cap. So you'll be seeing me wearing this a lot more often. Unfortunately for Nick from Blackmore, he's had even more disappointment in getting himself back up and running, because he recently found out that his kit supplier had gone bankrupt. So he's had to do a lot of running around to try and find a new kit supplier, which I gather he has now done. So in a couple of months time, he should be fully stocked, back up and running with more of these awesome merino wool jerseys, the caps, socks and bib shorts, which I will definitely be getting a set of. And I've actually bought 3 of his off-bike t-shirts, which I'm looking forward to wearing in the very near future. So if you get a chance, head over to Blackmore Cycling Apparel and go and show some love for a local cycling brand. But anyway, I'm off to go and clean this bike now, because it did get particularly dirty on those last few sections. So I'm going to go and get that done and then head inside for a cup of tea. And I will say thank you very much for watching. I hope this one wasn't too downbeat at the beginning, but I'm sure some of you know just how frustrating modern cycling can be. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one.